What's up, family? Now, y'all already know what time it is. It is Black History Month, so you know we got to do something special. So this month, we're going to be releasing episodes Mondays and Fridays, showcasing Black unity, Black excellence, and Black acceptance. I bring on so many Black kings and queens that are shedding their light in this world in an amazing way. So I cannot wait for y'all to hear everything we talk about. Tune in right now to TalksWithDariusDeon, Black History Month edition. Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Talks with Darius Deon. I'm just so glad that all of y'all have been tuning in and downloading each and every single one of my episodes. It means so much to me. But y'all already know what time it is. It's Black History Month, and you know we back with another episode. And today I have a very special guest on. He's like a brother to me, like family now. And we started off as just friends in college, and now we've grown to be really close friends. And so before I get too sappy, I'm going to let him go ahead and introduce himself. He's going to tell you his name, his occupation, and just a little bit about him.
Hey y'all, what's up? My name is Taylor Blackman. I am a multi-hyphenate here in New York. I'm claiming that in 2022, multi-hyphenate. I do a lot of different things. I'm an actor, I'm a professor, I'm a playwright, I'm a TV writer, I'm a director, and everything under the sun here in New York City. I think I do everything a little bit here. I've been here the last 4 years, and it's been a journey. It's been a beautiful, beautiful, lovely journey.
That's awesome. I mean, how has your mental health been during these crazy times in the world right now?
Oh my gosh, just hopping into mental health. Okay. Well, I mean, being real, I think it's hard, right? Because we're going through this time where things are uncertain and things are so up and down in the world and whatnot. And I think for me, especially, I am a person that can focus in on their work no matter what's going on. Mm-hmm. But what I realized is that can be a detriment to you too, like focusing so much on your work and realizing that you're not feeling yourself. Yeah. So for me, it's really been a shift of like, well, how do I have balance between like work and like working hard and fighting, because as Black people, we always strive to like be our best and always be on, but also making sure that like I'm on in terms of like my actual life. Like I'm making sure that I'm fed spiritually, financially, emotionally, and all those things. And so I think what my mental health right now in terms of right today is good. I think it's just a constant check-in with yourself of like, do I feel full in the other side of my life? Because I always feel full career-wise. I always feel full because I'm always doing something, always striving to work harder. But it's like, do I feel full in my personal life? And right now I do feel full. I feel like I'm allowing myself to feel things, allow myself to experience life and have fun. Yeah. I'm allowing myself to experience joy, even in these times that we're in. Like, I think we still have to remind ourselves that like there is joy to be found. Exactly. And there is a sense of purpose, right? Like we have to find our purpose again, which, because I've had the last few years been like, well, what is my purpose? And it's like, okay, girl, hold on, sit down. No, but it is like really like, but I think redefining your purpose as a person is critical during these times. We have to redefine what we want to do and what is, for me, I believe in God. What is God calling me to do? If you don't believe in God, all good. I mean, come with me to church if you want to. But if you don't believe in God, it's the same thing. What is the universe telling you to do? What is any religion? What is your inner intuition telling you to do? And really get set in and listen to that, because that's usually the wisest voice out of any,
That's so good. I mean, just talking about joy and about God right now, what's something that you wake up every day and tell yourself just to get yourself going, or just to speak some positive affirmations into yourself?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so much that goes, when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I'm hungry. But then that's about, for me, that's a positive affirmation. It's like, child, you hungry. But like what I really speak to myself is kind of just like, you got this. And I think it's the idea of like, no matter what comes in the day, no matter what kind of wants to send you off your teeter-totter of balance, it's like, you got this. And I think like the journey, I think so many of us have been on a journey as people, like, and we can kind of be like, in the moment, be like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, look at how far you've come, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I wake up and I literally think about like, wow, I have my own space.
Exactly.
I'm paying my own rent. I'm paying my own phone bill. Like, the idea of just being able to pay those things and be self-sufficient for me is like a blessing. And I'm like, wow, you have things around you that you can like literally like, you know, I'm just like, you got this.
Yeah.
You're doing this, you've done this, and you're going to continue to do it. You know, that's kind of my motto in the morning, those three things, you know.
Yeah, ain't got good.
Yeah.
Before we get into our topic, I want to ask you one more question. And what's a fun fact
course.
about you that you want the viewers to know?
Oh, the viewers. What do the viewers want to know? A fun fact. I don't like these questions. I'm like, what's a fun fact?
Or something interesting. Something interesting.
Okay. I have a printer. That's interesting. I'm just looking at my printer. No. I'm a nanny. So I also nanny full time. I work with kids. I think kids are the most incredible individuals in the world because they kind of ask the questions that all of us are too scared to ask once we get older, which is so weird. But they also have such a creative imagination. They also, I think it reminds me to be grounded in patience with when I work with children, because they require so much patience. Yeah, but I'm a nanny, so that's my fun little interesting.
Hey man, no, y'all, today. So yeah, we're really about to get into our topic of today, and that's basically talking about Black kings and how Taylor really showcases how you can go and come from nothing, but also just really make it for yourself and strive for something to really try to become who you really want to be. And just to shine some light on him and what he's been doing, I want to ask you, Taylor, like, how has it been since you moved to New York? Like, what was that process like for you?
Ooh, I mean, moving to New York was definitely an adjustment. After graduation, I graduated in 2018, and I was gonna move back to Chicago. That's where I'm from originally.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, as an actor, if you go to university, you get a thing called the showcase. So we had a New York showcase where basically agents and managers look at you and see you and can decide to like bring you on. And we had a Chicago showcase, and I did my Chicago showcase and got an agent from that. And I was ready to move to Chicago because I knew it was comfortable. I'm from there. I know the market. I knew like I would thrive there, right?
Yeah.
And I did my New York showcase, and I was kind of in New York, and it went well. Like, I got interest, and I was kind of in New York, and I was like, there's something telling me to move here. And I think the reason why is because I knew that New York would be a challenge in terms of like, I knew there would be things I wasn't good at. I knew there would be room for growth. I knew there would be moments of uncomfortability. I knew there would have to be a big life shift if I moved to New York, because I think moving anywhere where you're not from is a life shift, right? It's like, I'm going to move to this place where I'm not necessarily certain how it's going to look. And I think that what's under that is like, there's going to be a lot of work put in. So moving to New York my first year was really hard.
Yeah.
I lost my community of people because a lot of my classmates were either underclassmen or upperclassmen before I graduated and moved to different places. And the class I moved to New York, no shade, no tea, I just didn't connect with. I think after graduation, I think we just grew up and kind of moved our separate ways. So I was really in New York by myself. And I think that idea of like just like being in my work was kind of the big thing. I had to kind of hustle really hard. I was working, like, I was a nanny, but I was working like 4 or 5 different jobs a week. I was up at 6 a.m. taking kids to school. And then after that, I was at an audition. Like, I was really hitting the ground running, like really fighting for what I wanted. And then after my kind of first year of just like putting in that groundwork, is when I started to really see the results, right? Because when we put in the groundwork, we expect the results to come like right then and there. We're like, well, God, I put in this seed right here, and it's supposed to go into a tree right now. And God's like, that's not how it works. You planted the seed, now go walk and let it grow, and then come back and you'll see it. And for me, that was like, come back and let it grow. It was like a 2-year process of like just hitting the ground running. I was able my first year to be in an off-Broadway show called Till, where I played Emmett Till. I portrayed his life in the musical, and that was really that was a beautiful blessing in terms of just like, that was my first kind of leading role post-college. And to be in a Black show, honoring this young boy's life who was taken so quickly away from us was a beautiful thing. And yeah, so my first year was really crazy. My second year was a little bit better. And then my third year, I kind of stepped into this light. It was honestly during the pandemic of just like, I knew my worth as an artist, as a person, as a Black individual. I knew what my presence, what energy I had in rooms.
Yeah.
Because I knew I could walk into a room, and I don't know where it came from, but it was just like, I knew I could walk into a room and make everybody feel comfortable. I can make everybody feel seen.
Yeah.
I can make everybody feel heard. And that's a gift from God, honestly. I can make everybody, I can create family amongst strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that and ran with it. And I think once I did that and really leaned into that, I kind of started to receive the fruit of the blessing of God. It's like I started to get more jobs. I was doing a lot of workshops, and I was able to get my equity card and my SAG card. I was doing TV and film. And there was just all these things coming in. I was like, wow, God, like, you're really showing out. And the pandemic hit, right? So none of us were working. And I started writing because I was like, there's nothing to do, right? There's no job to be had. There's no acting to do. Like you can act on Zoom or on your computer if you want to, but there's not really anything tangible to get. There's no contract. None of us know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think in that moment, I was still in the mindset of like, well, I don't want to just sit here and just dawdle and just be like, I was still working full time during the pandemic as a nanny, but I was like, I don't want to just sit here and dawdle. So I wrote a play. I was like, why not? Let's write a play, I wrote Riverside Drive, and I did like 30 Zoom readings of it and workshops of it. And I did fellowships with Playwrights Realm, got that going. And then I started writing a TV show. I was like talking to my friend Savannah. I was like, I have this idea. And she was like, I have this idea. And we just wrote a TV show, right? And it's just like, I think I'm big on just like yes and to my entire life, because I think just saying yes allows for more blessings to come than And I also just knew as a person, I didn't want to stick myself in one bubble of just being an actor, because I feel like the moment I was just to be like, I'm just an actor, that's all I have to do, is the moment when you're not allowing other blessings to come in. Because as an actor, the jobs are far and few between, right? Like we don't know what the next job is going to be. So just to put my own heart on the line with just one avenue is like, that's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
I think my relationship with acting is also a relationship, right? Like in any relationship, you're like, I can't put too much in this one relationship, because if I'm getting all my needs from this one relationship, then like it's gonna die, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, whether it's a romantic partner, whether it's a friend, whether it's a best friend, whether it's, whoever you're in a relationship with, the same thing is the same thing with what you love. It's like with acting, I was like, I can't put all my weight, financial, emotional, and mental health on this one thing, because then I will destruct and I will become jaded and I will hate what I do. And so I think I quickly was like, okay, writing. All right, I need to, because that's something also, like I feel with writing is something that you can kind of, there's not really a success chart. It's really just about like what you want to curate and what you want to create.
Yeah.
And then the kind of succeeding is really, I finished this piece. What's the next thing that I have in my mind that I want to say? That's really up to you. Yeah. And so my time in New York really has been like this weird kind of culmination of like trying to find myself, but also realizing that like in finding myself, I already know myself, and that everything I'm trying to find is already in me. Yeah.
I mean, that leads me into my next question is, what if somebody's trying to find their worth right now or like move to a big city? What would be some advice you would give to them from what you've been through and experienced?
I mean, the biggest thing is curate community, right? I think like that's the biggest thing, because I think in those moments when you're like, I don't know what is next, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, everything around me is changing, it's going to be your community that really picks you up. And like even now, like, we talked about mental health earlier. It's like I'm going through a time where like I'm in a big life shift, and there's been a lot of things happening and changing, and it's like my community has been the one constant that's kind of kept me like,
Yeah.
But if you're moving to a big city or anything, I think community, I think it's going to be, it's a real thing we have to talk about as Black people, is like financial health. And I think it's a thing that a lot of people don't talk about when we move to a big city. It's like, there's a difference between surviving and thriving.
Yeah.
And a lot of people right now are just surviving in New York City, right? Like the idea of like, I'm barely making rent. I'm barely making this. I'm barely making X, Y, and Z. And I think that's one way to go about it. And I think as artists, we all watch Rent. I remember watching Rent. I was like, is that going to be my life in New York City? Am I going to be screaming at my landlord that I'm not going to pay rent? Like, is that what it's going to be? But I had to realize that, like, no, that's not what your life has to be. I think you have to really dig into the tools that you have as an individual and learn how to market them, right? Because I think the moment that you become financially secure, or at least in a place where you know that like financially you're good, like, you know, you're okay, at least like okay, and like really okay, like if something happens, if I have a medical injury that I know paying $3,000 out of pocket is not going to kill me, right? It may be like, all right, now I got back to my savings, but I know like it's not going to blow everything out of the water, right? I think that's so important, because the moment you have that, you can kind of stress a little bit less. And I feel like money is the root of all evil, but it's also the reason why a lot of people stress about things. And why a lot of people do what they do. And a lot of our actions are based in money. A lot of relationships are based in money, like friends, also like partners. Like, so like the more you can get financially healthy in terms of like, know your spending habits, know your budgeting, know that if you have a certain lifestyle that you want to live, that you have to find a job, whether it's in your field or not, that allows for you to live that way, right? That you feel comfortable. Like for me, feeling comfortable, like I know that I can go out right now to go get dinner with friends and not cry about it, right? When I get home, like I spent $75 and that was my money for bus fare. Like, you know, I can go do those things. I don't do it every day, but I know I can go do that. That's the freedom, right? We want that freedom, because then you're allowed to like actually enjoy your life.
Exactly.
And I think finding the last thing I think is just finding things that really fill you outside of what you're there to do. And that's a hard one, right? Because again, you move to a big city and you're like, I'm here to make things happen, right? Like I'm here to make the dream happen. It's like, yes. At the same time, though, you do have to live life, I think, in the sense that your path will be full unless you actually live your life. And that's a word for me as well. You know, like I think we all work so hard at what we want to do. And it's like, but at some point you got to live your life. You got to go out. You got to go, you know, take a walk. You got to go meet people. You got to go experience, you know, the life of people. Right now we're in COVID, I get that also, but you also can't live your life scared.
Exactly.
And it's so easy to live your life scared in a big city and just be like, well, I'm just gonna go home and be in my bed and watch TV. That's where everybody's at right now. Like, I'm gonna go home and be in bed and watch TV. That's cool too. I'm not saying that's not cool. Y'all can do that. Y'all can do that. But you also have to be like, okay, I need to get out the house because I'm just doing the same thing over and over. And you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, I think too. You have to be willing to be in spaces where you may not know everything, but you're willing to go find the information in somebody who has it. And that's my biggest advice.
That's so good. I really hope that helps somebody, whoever might be listening right now. But Taylor, my next question for you is honestly, what keeps you going? What keeps you motivated every day?
Oh, geez. I was actually thinking about this kind of like in the last week, because I always wonder, like, I'm like, well, how do I get up every day and just go? And my roommates kind of make comments about it, like, Taylor, you never stop working. And you always just in your room doing stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, I got stuff to do.
Exactly.
But I think it's this idea, and again, like, I believe in God. So this is my philosophy on it. But if you don't believe in God, I think it's the same idea, right? It's the universe. It's whatever religion you believe. I think it's innate in all of us, is that there is something bigger than me. At play. I don't think I'm in the position that I'm in right now as a professor at a university because of just like the world being like, what, you know, I don't think it's all by chance. I think there's literally things at play. For me, it's God. I think God is at play to put me in this position, right? And I feel like my gift, while it is a beautiful gift and I enjoy my gift, and I'm like, I would love the admiration and the love of everybody and be like, I'm famous. It's really not for me, you know, it's not mine. I think my gift is meant to help people. I think my gift is meant to connect people. I think my gift is meant to serve people. I think my getting up every day and going to work is meant to feed into somebody else. It's about selflessness, right? And like I can definitely say that on the other end of that, it's like I definitely struggle as a person, as we all do, with like moments of like ego, right? Like pride. Like I'm like, oh well, if I get this big show, then I'm gonna be famous, and all my friends from all the people that did me wrong go see me, and I'm gonna be famous. And it's like that's in my mind, that's my thoughts, but my heart is like that's not what it's about, right? Like it's about you are meant to connect with people and bring joy and bring life and revive people through your art. I think that's what gets me up and motivated every day. And it's like, that's why I can keep going. Even in moments I'm like, I don't want to do none of this. I look at my computer, I'm like, I don't want to do none of that. And an email. Y'all need an email right now at 11 o'clock at night? Why are we sending emails? I'm in bed. But it's like you gotta, you know, putting the ego aside and the pride aside and be like, there is a bigger picture at play. And I really prophesize that to somebody, because that is really what it's about, right? Like there is something bigger than us at play.
Yes.
Like there is a reason that you made it through all that you've been through. You know, all the trauma, all the generational things with parents, you know, all the stuff that we've all been through, because we've all been through stuff, right?
Yeah. There's
a reason that you're here right now today. We survived a pandemic. Like, think about that. Like we literally, and that is not by chance. That I want to kind of emphasize that. That is not by chance. That is not the lucky draw. There is a reason that you are here today. And we are meant to do something that is so much bigger than us. And I feel that every single day, and it's hard because again, like I'm like, I don't want to do, some days I don't want to do none of it. I'm like, this can all just
go.
But what gets me up and go, like this all can just stop. Get out. I prophesied that came from me from somebody. This is get out. But there's something bigger. And I think that's what gets me up in the morning when I don't want to do it. It's like, what is my discipline when I don't want to get up in the morning? When I don't want to do those things? It's like, there's something bigger at play. Amen. And I think I would be failing myself, and also not even myself, the other people around me. Like I'm meant to save lives. You know, I'm not in the hospital every day pumping hearts and checking vitals, but my art saves people. You know, as a person. And I think whatever job you're in, whatever you're doing, no matter if you're an artist or not, your job is saving somebody. Like you have to really, your job is helping somebody create the next step to keep moving forward. Whether you're working at a phone call center in Comcast, you helping somebody pay their bill to keep their Comcast on is making sure they can call their mama who's sick in North Dakota. Right? Like there are bigger things at play.
Yes. And
you have to realize your purpose. And that's what keeps me going. Honestly, it's just like there is something bigger at play, and I have bigger things to do.
That's a word for somebody. That's so good. That's so good. I mean, my next question for you is, I mean, you started that new job, you know what I'm saying? Taylor started a new job. He's a professor now. He's doing a damn thing in New York City. But Taylor, as you started this job and you stepped out on faith, have you ever faced imposter syndrome? Like even in this job, or also just in life? What would be something that you would say to somebody who may be trying to overcome that or trying to get through it right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think imposter syndrome is kind of inevitable, right? I think also, like, I know as a person that like our thoughts are one thing, and people always say, well, just control your thoughts. I'm like, that's impossible, because your thoughts are going to be your thoughts, right? Exactly. Like, but what you can control is your actions. And what has been pivotal for me in this new moment is like, my mind may think one thing, but my action has to say another. Like, and that's, again, I go back to God, is like, the devil may say one thing in my mind, but God says another. Therefore, God works through my actions, not through my mind. Because the mind is playable, right? The mind, we have so many thoughts in our head at one time. That imposter syndrome, all that stuff, it's gonna come no matter what stage of life that we're in. I could be the most famous person on earth, I'm still having imposter syndrome. I bet Michael Jackson and Beyonce have imposter syndrome. I bet. I put money on it. Have them call me. You know, call me up. But I think it's I stepped into a new job. I'm a professor now, And I don't, for y'all those that don't know, as an actor, usually to work at a university, you have to have an MFA, which is the Master's in Fine Arts. I do not have that. I have nothing of that. I have a BFA and God. You know, and I think stepping into that job was really hard because it's like, well, I'm teaching these grown folk how to act, not even how to act, like about the industry, about all these things. And they're in my mind, I was like, well, you haven't reached this and you haven't done this, or like, how can you even qualify yourself? And I was like, well, God qualified me. Like, outside of all of that, like, you are here and you do have valuable information to share with these people. And again, your heart is in the right place. You want to share. Yes. You want to help these students succeed to the best of their ability. So that's the qualifier right there. It's like, why are you doing this? Amen. And my qualifier, like, that's what's your qualifier is like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for the betterment of somebody else? If that's a yes, and there's a good reason behind it, then anything else that comes to your mind, because it will come. Those thoughts will come. And I'm not a person that's, it's positive thinking. No, those thoughts will come for sure. Yeah. But it's like, I'm meant to be here, though. I still, my actions, again, my feet have to show something different. My hands have to show something different. Yes. And with doing action, your thoughts will change, right? Because then there's an actual product in front of you. You're building something. You're like, I don't know what I'm building. Oh, it's trash. It's trash. I'm gonna keep building. It's trash. It's trash. I built it. It's beautiful. I made that. It's mine. Yes. Then the thoughts change. Oh, so I can do it. We have to work through the uncertainty, because uncertainty and fear will have you sitting in the same place you were yesterday. That's a word. And I refuse. That's the one thing I'm grateful that God has given me, is like, I refuse to wait in fear. Yes. And that's always been my life. No matter what situation I was in, I was like, I refuse to sit in fear. And I refuse to sit in waiting for something to change. Like, if some things don't change, right? Like, sometimes your situation, whatever you're in, is like not going to change. So therefore, you just have to do something different, though. Like, you could be working that 9-to-5 job that you hate, but I know when I go home at night, I need to be doing X, Y, and Z for my dream, my passion. Exactly. Right. There's a great person I listen to, because I'm about I love life improvement stories and all those things. Lisa Nichols. She's a great public speaker. She's the person that changed her life from 0 to 100 real quick. But she always talks about, she's like, I had to inconvenience myself to get the things that I wanted. And while I didn't know what I was doing, I just knew I had to do something bigger than where I was right now. And I think it's, again, that it all goes back to vision. It's like, what do you see yourself doing? Right? Yes. If you see yourself doing one thing that's huge, right? Like, for me, being an artist, my dreams are huge. I'm a dreamer. Huge. And that means that my steps have to be in alignment with that dream. And if it's not, I'm not going to reach that at all. And people think, oh, well, the dream is so big, it's so far, it's so high. How do I get there? How will I ever get there? That's great. That's a mountain first. And to get to the mountain, you have to literally look at the floor of what you're walking on. Like, there's a hill. You have to walk up the hill first. Yes. And once I walk up the hill, you'll get there. But I can't just look at the dream and be like, well, that's too far. That's too long. That's too wide. You're looking right here where I'm at and be like, okay, 1 foot in front of the other. 1 foot in front of the other. And I train myself in that every day, because I can always think of, like, what's the next step? Yeah. And what's the next thing? And it's like, well, like, look at where you are right now. And what's just one tangible step you can do today? Amen. And there is something you can do every single day. And the imposter syndrome, all that stuff will follow you. And when you get there, it will still be there. But it's like, well, I got here. So now what? And I can't say the N word because this shit is just, but now what? Nah, nuggets and cheese, now what? Now what? I'm here. And I be fighting with myself, John. I'll throw hands with those voices in our head. I throw hands. And and throwing hands for me is the action. I'm like, okay, you can be there if you want, but we're gonna make sure these actions are right. Exactly. We're gonna make sure this next step is together. Yeah. That's what keeps me going. That's what helps that noise, Yeah. So good. Yeah. I mean, my next question,
You inspire so many people and students, but what inspires you?
Hmm, that's a good question. I think it's seeing people live in joy, right? I think no matter what has been going on in the world, ever since I was a kid, like I've always wanted to find the joy, because I know that joy is infectious, it's beautiful, and that can bring so much life to a room that anything else besides that cannot, you know? And I think about like, why are we here as humans? Like, that's a big question that we can think about and talk about all day. But it's like, what I do feel in my innate spirit and what feels good, it actually allows our lives to feel whole, is like that joy. And so when I see people like experiencing joy, or I see people living in their truth, or I see people living in their destiny.
Yes.
That brings me joy. Like, oh my gosh, right now, all my friends, y'all, and I'm gonna speak on Darius because he got it too. All my friends are thriving. There's not one friend in my circle that is not doing the thing.
God is good.
All the time. and I literally sat in my bed. I cried about it. I was like, all my friends are succeeding. And that is, I'm not gonna cry, but that is, I think it's just like when you see the work being done, right? You see the trials and tribulations, and you see like the conversations that aren't on Facebook and Instagram because those things are fake.
Yes.
You know, when you see that, when you know the actual person, and you see what they've gone through, what they're going through, what they continue, what they will go through, and then you see them win. There is something about that is just, I have complete joy for my friends when they win. And I'm glad I have that mindset about life, because a lot of friends, or a lot of people, I want to say friends, but a lot of people can feel like, oh, I'm so excited to see you win. Yay. And it's like, well, that's dry. That's
exactly. Yeah.
That's not a good feeling either. You know, it's really watching my friends win, listening to like watching new art forms, being inspired by my kids, because like even though like they can be a pain sometimes in the rear end, I'm trying to keep this PG, in the rear end, it's nice to see that like they have dreams and goals, even during a pandemic, right? Like they have dreams and goals, they have passions, they're funny, they're witty, you know, like life inspires me. I think people inspire me, and I want to see more people happy. And I don't know what that looks like. Because I think I also like, I have this like hidden agenda of like trying to make the world a better place every single day. But also like, if I could fix the world, I would. Like, I was like, if I get this much money, I'm gonna do this. I'll make sure people got this, and I'm gonna do this. And God's like, okay, that's a cute dream. I'm gonna hold on to that one. Maybe that'll work. But you know, okay, you want to be world peace, okay? Yeah. But it's I just truly, it's people. And I think I'm always like, I'm just inspired by people, and how even in the toughest situations we go on, we learn more, we see more, we do more. It's a beautiful thing.
Y'all, this episode has just been so good. I mean, I really hope that anybody listening is taking something from this and knowing that you are enough and you are worthy for everything and anything that comes your way. But Taylor, one of my last questions for you is, what is something that you would say to your little young Black and boys and girls watching this right now?
Oh my gosh. You know, it's interesting. I was talking to my inner child last week. You know, some people are like, well, your inner child, what's that? If you haven't done it, go talk to your inner child, because they exist. What I would say to little boys and girls, I mean, that's a broad question, but what I will say about that is like, I think your dreams are valid. I think sometimes the world, especially Black children specifically, the world can try to harden you. It can try to demoralize you. It can try to devalue you. It can try to harm you in ways that are not, you know, not that, in ways that are Black and white, but ways that aren't Black and white, right? Like, and I think that's something we have to realize. And I'm glad that this new generation coming up is very aware of self-love, They're very aware of mental health. They talk, they speak up, which I'm like, thank God they know their self-worth.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the idea of like, you have to understand that you matter in a way that is bigger than this moment right now. Like, and it can feel like everything on because again, at that age, I think kids, it's hard because you're in a space where everything is kind of like every little thing is so big because you don't know anything else.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to take away from that experience because that's an experience, right? Like you can get caught up in your friend's drama or what's going on with he said, she said, or what your parents are going through and their stuff. And you got to realize that you are individual outside of all of that.
Yes.
You are somebody. So it's like, well, what's your value system? What is your way of going about life? What do you think is the most important thing? And really get back to those questions. Like, what do you feel like is your value system? Because I think what we sometimes can lose that when we're kids. And like, what do I find joyous? What do I find repugnant? What do I find? Like all those questions that can be filtered by other people and transformed by other people. You have to go back to something like, what do I think?
Yeah.
And that you are the can I curse? Can I?
Yeah.
You are the shit. Like you are the shit. And no one can tell you different.
Yes, you
There's
are.
such a tenacity with kids that I'm like, we gotta get that back as adults, that they just do anything without fear.
Yes.
And it starts to disappear around when we get to teenage age. But there's a sense of just going for it, not thinking, on instinct, that is so apparent in children. And I don't want my young kids to lose that.
Yeah.
Because we can. And I just got mine back like a couple of years ago where I just act off instinct. I'm like, all right, go. But follow that, because that inner voice will lead you to so much bigger. And I think also listen to your inner voice. Like when it tells you no, when it's like, friend, that's not a good idea. You're like, okay, I'm allowed. You talking so loud. But listen to him or her, whoever, whatever it sounds like to you, but listen to that inner voice that tells you what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's usually going to lead you to keeping you safe, glory, to knowing when to speak up, to when to speak out, to knowing when to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
We have a system built inside of us that literally is meant to protect us. And not just in a way that's like you can see actual danger coming in front of you, like a car coming, but also like in relationships.
Yeah.
Also in, situations with friends. There is a voice inside of us that is meant to protect us, and you have to listen to that. And it's hard because, again, the world does not want you to listen to that voice.
Exactly.
It does not. It's like, I want you to participate in all the tomfoolery that I have to offer for $3.99. And you're like, oh, well, Earth, that sounds great. I'm going to take that for free. Well, thank you. Your voice is like, no, you probably shouldn't. You're like, shut up. No, and you have to really listen to that voice and be like, that's the thing that's going to lead you to greatness. And you're destined for greatness. You are the shit. And everything you want is literally inside of you. And at the moment you're in, this is the last thing to say, the moment that you're in, because again, with kids, it's a hard thing because you can want to change your life and do things differently, but you're a kid and you have systems and parents and things that are keeping you in a certain place.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're Christian, I always say pray. And I always say, like, get back to like, this is only for a moment. And what can you do in this moment to keep you alive and safe and filled? And if you're not Christian, you don't believe in Christianity, it's a sense of like, what is going to make sure that you can survive in this moment to go thrive when you get out of there, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. It's like right now, because some kids are just surviving, and I get that, and I totally get that. And survival is a horrible place to be in. Yeah. Because it makes you feel like you have less than, or you have nothing else to hold on to. And that's really hard. Yeah. And I don't want to erase that narrative from anybody. You can think your way out of any situation. No, sometimes you're in a situation that you gotta just survive. But know that right now you are surviving, and that when you get out, there's also greatness and destiny and wonder, that you also have to do some healing when you get out of that space, because you can't operate from that same space. Like a lot of adults, y'all, and this is my kids, a lot of adults, a lot of us are operating from the same systems of when we were kids and still responding the same way to things as if we're a child. That's why so many people running up on January 6th to go on the White House acting like children.
Ridiculous.
Responding like children, because they're still responding in a child's way.
Exactly.
And when you get out of that space, you gotta really do some self-healing and being like, I gotta change something up because this ain't working. But know that right now, what you're doing to survive, I get that. I get it. And survive. Get through it. This is gonna be hard. Not gonna lie, this is gonna be hard. But what's great about things being hard is that it makes the journey so much better, because you actually survived it and you actually have an abundance of life after that. You know, that's my thing. The key is, and don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, y'all. Don't do drugs.
please don't do no damn drugs.
I'm just so happy with all the wisdom and advice you've been giving throughout this episode. I really think it's going to help anybody that is listening and watching. But my last question for you, Taylor, is what are your dreams and goals for your next 5 to 10 years of your life? Or even tomorrow.
Yeah. I used to hate this question. I'd be like, I don't know. Take a bath. I don't know. Eat some cereal. Drink some water. I mean, that's a hard question. I mean, and I won't say it's a hard question. It's just, it's not going to be an answer of like actual tangible goals, because I feel like with me, what I realized, like when I say actual like hard earned goals, like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, is that I'm not listening to God's voice.
Yes.
And then I'm thinking more forward in the future and not in the moment. And I think for us as people and as a nation, we always think so far ahead. And that's really hard to hold on to, because life happens.
Yes.
Right? When I got to New York, I set those 5 to 10 year goals, and then a pandemic happened. But out of that pandemic and things shifting, I got so much more. Amen. I got so much farther ahead in a pandemic than I did in my own career when I wasn't in a pandemic.
Yes.
Oh, that's a word. Woo!
Ain't God good?
I got further. Let me say it again. I got further ahead in my life, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, in a pandemic than when we were not in one. And so if I've learned anything, is that while I may not have goals, I set goals for the kind of person I want to be, and allow the goals to translate into that path, right? Like I want to be a person that's able to work with individuals and speak into them. I prophesize over myself for the future. I want to be a person that's able to be a great friend. I feel like I'm a great friend now, but I want to be an even greater friend. I want to be a person that takes responsibility for their emotions, for their actions and their troubles. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at more at the character of who I want to be in my 5 to 10 year goal. I'm like, there's a certain person and persona, because the goals are all there. I can see the goals, but there has to be a certain person that's standing under those goals. Because if there's not, then I'll get there and I will be ready to handle with the responsibility that God has given me, because I have not changed internally. And it's like, we all want to be this big thing or do the big thing. And it's like, we got to do some interpersonal work first.
Exactly.
How can I say I want to run a school or do X, Y, and Z, and I don't know nothing about, I still have trouble taking criticism. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really gotta get in the dirt with yourself about some stuff you gotta fix in your life. And that's something I'm glad I'm able to have that image of myself, is like, while I am growing, I have all these great things, there's still some work I gotta do as an individual. Yeah. And I'm not shy, and I don't shame myself for that either. It's like, no, that's the life's work. That's the 5 to 10 year goal, is like, how do I grow as an individual so that by the time I get to my goals, because I will get there. It's not about a question of if or and or what. I'm going to get there because God promised it.
Exactly. It's
when I get there, am I going to be the person that I need to be, not want to be, or see myself be, that I need to be, to handle all the responsibility of what is there. And that for me sets everything up. It's like, so yeah, I mean, in terms of like, do I want to be a Oscar award winning director, writer, screenwriter, actor, all this extraordinary? Yes, of course. God, if you see it, I'll take it. But it's more about like, I want to be so at peace with everything in my life in 5 to 10 years, financially, mentally, emotionally, at peace. And not have to worry about anything and not have to look at nobody for nothing and just be like, I am good as a singular person. And then all those other things will come or whatever's meant to come, right? Again, the journey changes. Because what I think I'm meant to do could also be like God, be like, no, you're supposed to go this way. I sent it this way. Because again, you don't serve the world, you serve me. Oh. Whew, that's it
right there.
That's a word. and that's scary. And that's again, that can be scary, I guess, because like I've dreamt so bigly, like a bigly. Oh, that's not a word. Oh gosh, kids don't listen to this part. That's such a big, a big part of my life is like dreaming. Like I'm like I dream of these things, but I also don't think those dreams are like by mistake.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, if I'm dreaming, God is putting those dreams into my head and into my mind, and into my subconscious, then they're going to happen, right?
Exactly.
We don't dream. None of what we're doing is just lily-dally. It's none of it. It's all for a purpose. The dreams that I have are not just in the air. They came from a fairy and they dropped them in. No, that's God putting the vision of what you're meant to have when you get there. And the thing is, God's not, he's promising that to you if you follow what he asks you to do. And again, if you don't believe in God, I always like asking, if you don't believe in God, it's about the universe. The universe is asking you to do things and it's prophesying those things, but you have to let the work in you be congruent with that dream.
Exactly. And
if it's not, then you're not going to get it. And that's why so many people are like, well, if I just done this, well, I would have been a doctor. Well, you weren't studying. So how are you going to be a doctor if you have horrible study habits?
Exactly.
Or you have horrible decision-making skills? The world was asking for something of you bigger than yourself, and you did not meet the expectations of what was required for you to be there. So therefore, you can't have it.
Yep.
So it's I mean, this is a word for somebody. It's a word for me.
God is speaking. God is speaking. Somebody better be listening.
I'm gonna go back and listen and be like, wow, that was really speaking to myself. This is for me.
Glory be to God.
No, but I think 5 to 10 year plan. I mean, I'll say one because I'll try to honor the question.
Yeah.
Is that probably I just want all my family to be good and to be well financially, everything. And I think that's something that God has put on my heart, is making sure that my family's good, that I'm good financially. Because I think as growing up, especially as Black people, money is such a weird thing in this country.
Yes.
And it brings out the worst in people. Because it ties into your survival in this world.
Yeah.
And the way we started as Black people, we were not met at the starting line with the same tools that these white people had. And so therefore, I have to work extra hard, and my family has to work extra hard to make ends meet. And therefore, there's emotional things not being met for children in the home. There's just so many things. And I'm like, if money's the situation, I want it to not be a problem. We got the money.
Yeah.
And my thing is to say, we got the money, now what? We still got some healing to do, It's not you get the thing and then that's it. It's like you got the thing, now what, right? Everybody thinks that problems we fix with money. Money, I have the most money I've ever had in my life right now. And I'm not even working as an artist full-time. Like as a full-time, I have the most money I've ever had in my life. And it's like still like, okay, now what? You have the money, you spent the money on the thing. Now what? You got when I actually got money, I was spending like I had no business spending. I was buying clothes. I was going to shop. And it's like, but like, what is, you got all the things, but now what? You still feel empty.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now we got, I looked at God. I say, so we really got this competition right now, right? After I got my Gucci belt. But it's real. So Yeah, I think all those things are valid. And I kind of forgot the question. I'm sorry I went off the path. I was
No,
just
I
speaking.
mean, it was good. God was speaking. God was moving.
Yeah, always, always, always. But yeah, it's a big journey. But I'm excited about the journey. Be excited about the journey.
Yeah.
Even the parts of you that are like, this is gonna be scary and this is gonna really reveal some things about me. Be excited for that though, because that means you're healing.
Amen.
And that means you're gonna be an even greater human being on the other end of it.
Amen. I just hope anybody listening to this has really taken heed and listened and gained something from what Taylor has said during this podcast. I'm just so thankful to know you, Taylor, and so thankful to have you in my life. Y'all, God has really been moving. Like, we're not even joking. We have come so far from what we used to be, and God is just so good to us. And so that's why we're literally sitting here trying to be a light and a voice of hope for people that look like us, but also other generations of people that do not look like us. But yeah, Taylor,
Yes.
I just really want to thank you. And somebody needs to know that God has plans to prosper you and not harm you, to give you a hope and a future. So hold on to that and always remember it. But yeah, Taylor, I really do thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Thank you for having me. I mean, this was great. I mean, listen, I need a podcast now. I'm about to make one. I'm about to go on my little Google and be like, how to make a podcast?
Hey.
I just want to talk to Black people. But no, thank you for having me. Truly, truly, I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, y'all. This is Talks with Darius Deon, and we'll see you later.